I suppose most children fall in love with fairies at some point, but my fascination was never about magic or the granting of wishes. The folk were of another world, with its own rules and own customs, and to a child who always felt ill-suited to her own world, the lure was irresistible. By Heather Fawcett, from Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries. When I go into the woods, I am always reminded of the fairies and other magical beings there. And when I look at the leaves in autumn and the rain that is turning them into shimmering reflectors of the sunlight, I imagine how the fairies wear these tiny umbrellas while dancing with each other in the rain. When I find a walnut shell, I cannot help myself but imagine the fairies floating on the water in these little boats, enjoying the sunshine or looking forward to their upcoming adventure. And let's be honest, who didn't want to be so small to be able to do just that when they were a child? I certainly was. I love to imagine that in autumn the fairies take the water that has collected in the heads of the mushrooms as a mirror and look at themselves cheekily in it. There is just a fascination with the little details of nature that are hidden to our eyes at first, but get more obvious the closer we look. I recently read Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett, and it turned out to be my most favorite book of all times. I was so immersed in the story and I could relate so deeply with the main character, with her attraction to this other magical realm and her urge for knowledge about this other world. I felt so drawn into that story that I went on a little adventure myself. And shortly after, I found myself in what I thought was the entrance to the fairy realm. Alright, so before we get crafty, I thought I would just quickly sit down and talk with you about how I want the fairy encyclopedia to look like. And you would think, because I said that word a million times in that video today, that I would know how to pronounce it, but obviously no. But I thought I would just talk with you about my plans and what is going on in that head of mine. Because I have been thinking about that fairy encyclopedia, or like the DIY, about making it for like the past few days. So there's a lot going on in my head, and I'm so curious to see what's manifesting in like that video for you guys. I don't even know myself. I just know whenever I think about a fairy encyclopedia, I think about a book that is like covered in leaves, and I have been doing a lot of these pressed leaves the past few weeks and days, and I just collected them because I thought they are so cute. Because I mean, look at them, but I didn't know what I want to do with them. I hope you like it's focusing, but I feel like that's the perfect project for it. So I think about moss, I think about leaves, gemstones, because fairies like shiny things. I'm thinking about beautiful ribbons and laces to kind of like attach the book together. And what I want to do, so that may be surprising for some of you guys, but what I want to do is I want to do a book that is changing with the seasons, or that can change with the seasons. So basically what I want to do is doing like a cover that I can always exchange. For example, I'm doing a more autumn cover now. If I want to change it in spring, I can do that. And the way I'm doing that is by not sticking the book together. I will use a ribbon or something like that, and by that I can also exchange the pages, because I know myself, if I want to change the pages and it's like one of these normal books, I get so frustrated, because I'm like, okay, I would love to have that page before that page because it makes more sense in my Virgo thinking. But yeah, that's what we are doing now, and after that, let's get crafty, shall we? So I just finished painting everything and putting on my dried leaves with PVC glue, and I know it looks really scary, but according to my plan, all of this milky consistency should vanish once it is dried, and all the leaves should be sealed. So that is the plan. Let's see how that turns out. I will just make a quick coffee break, and after that, once it is dried, I will check and see if I have to go over it again or what our next step is. So that is the project for now. I don't know if I can finish it today, but yeah, that's how it looks like, and I will see you in a bit. Alright, and here is an update about the cover of the Encyclopedia, and I just covered it with another layer of PVC glue. I didn't thin the PVC glue with water this time, I just used the PVC glue as it is, and I made these little letters out of the sticks that I showed you in the beginning. So I basically just cracked these into like the little pieces of the letters that I wanted to spell. And originally I wanted to write Fairy Encyclopedia on the cover, but as you can see, that is like already too big, so there is no way that I can spell encyclopedia under that without having to break the encyclopedia into two words, and I don't want to do that. So we just have fairy on here, but yeah, that is the current state, and I think that should work fine. Just make sure that your leaves are dried well, so in case that there is, like, I don't know, some humidity in the leaf, it cannot mold or something. That's the only thing that I just thought about. But yeah, I think otherwise it should work really well, and I really am curious how it will look like after it is dried. And let's just use the time and do the back of the encyclopedia as well. I don't know what to do with that yet, but I'm sure I can come up with something. So yeah, let's do that while we are waiting for that bad boy right here. Well, hello there, seekers of magic, and welcome or welcome back to my Fairy Queendom. So, today is actually the next day. Yesterday I did the DIY, which you saw, and today is, as I said, the next day, and I just came here to my little atelier. And while I was driving here, I picked up some coffee, and then I took a route that I usually don't take, and I drove through that forest, and it was just the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Right now all the leaves are coming off of the trees, and it was just raining leaves everywhere you were looking, and I did a lot of clips. Like, my battery from my smartphone was hanging in there until like 1% because I did so many pictures, and I was amazed that it like was lasting so long, because I felt like the forests wanted me to show you that beautiful magical event as well. But it was truly amazing, and I didn't even plan to stop. But I feel like when you leave like the normal path, and when you do something unexpected or something that was not planned, then you have the most magical experiences ever. And that's what happened to me today. Like, I was driving home, as I said, I stopped in that little forest. I just went on. I didn't have a goal. I was just like walking in, and it was amazing. As I said, like leaves were raining everywhere. I tried to catch them. I tried to film for you guys, because I was just like, okay, I have to show you that. Like, that's beautiful. And I know that some of you commented that in your country the leaves are already fallen. So I really hope you enjoy that little walk with me through the forest, so you can enjoy again the, yeah, beautiful golden autumn here in Germany. And it was amazing. I had so much inspiration. I feel like the forest had that beautiful message for me. I found these beautiful little magical spots everywhere. And honestly, I feel like that year, and it's basically because I want always to show you what is like happening in the forests here in Germany. I feel like for the first time in my life, I can really, really say that I enjoyed that autumn to the fullest. Like, I experienced the transition. I went outside nearly every single day into the forest, and I could really see nature transitioning and changing. And I feel like that never happened before. Like, I have been outside whole my life, but I didn't pay that close attention like to all these little details that I did that year. And that is basically just thanks to you, because I, as I said, I want to share all of that with you. So thank you so much for also reminding me to see the magic in my own life and to pay close attention to the details. And I found a fairy portal that was just magical. And I will insert the clip once more. Like, I think I will already have put it in like this little portion of the video before the DIY. But that little fairy portal, I was like, that is like surreal. And I just saw that leaf full of water. It was like an oak leaf. And I had like in the script, I wrote down like the fairies, when they see water in the leaf, they are like looking inside, because it's like a mirror for them, right? Fairies use the nature. And so water in a leaf is a mirror. And I just looked inside. I wanted to film that for you. And then I was like, hold on, what is that? I looked into the water, and it was like mirroring the trees above, but I cannot even explain it. It was like I just opened a portal to fairy realm. And I don't know, just seeing these things makes me so, so happy. I also am currently looking out for tree pearls, I think they are called. And there is a big one at a birch tree near my home. But it's not ready yet. You should never rip them off when they are not ready. They should come off like really, really easily, or already be on the ground. So if you happen to find one of these, take it as a present from the tree and the woods, and don't rip it off or destroy the tree, because it's like a wound to us. So when it's ready, it will come off really easily, and you can make jewelry out of that, or I don't know, like lucky charms or whatever you feel inspired to. And I have been looking out for these treasures like for the past few days and weeks since I learned about them. And I was just walking around through the forest. I didn't have a goal, as I said. I was just like wandering around, immersing myself into the beautiful tree and leaf rain. And I found one of these pearls. I even made a video. It was not ready yet, but just the fact that I found one of them, because they are really rare. It's like not like you're walking outside and you find them like in tons. It's like really rare, and I was just drawn to the tree, and I don't know, was like for the first time in my life I could feel the trees like talking to me, kind of like, you know, when you get these feelings. And I said that before, but my teacher, like from my shamanic practitioner training, said trees communicate in feelings. And I feel like this forest deeply connected to me. It was like giving me so many messages. I also picked up that beautiful guy right here because I just got an inspiration for another DIY that was not even planned, and I just finished it in like 10 or 15 minutes. It was so easy, and it's like something everybody can do. So that was amazing. And while I was driving home, I started to cry because I know the forest had a reason to call me in. As I said, that stop was not planned, but there was a reason, and I could like understand the message in like the blink of an eye, because when I was driving home, I understood that the trees are letting go of all the leaves right now. But even though they do that, like the tree is still there. Like it's not the leaves that make the tree, right? Of course they do, but it's like the basic structure, the foundation is the tree, the stem itself. So I understood that the message was, while seeing all of that beautiful leaf rain in the forest, that I too have to let go of certain aspects of my life. So that was like a magical day, and I'm still so amazed. I really hope it comes across like the magic I felt in that forest. I also found the most beautiful oak leaf ever. But while I was in the forest, I got the call to give it as a present and really show my gratitude for all like the guidance that I received in like this hour that I spent unexpectedly outside in the forest. And yeah, I just let it there on like the beautiful stone covered in moss that looked like it had been there for like 200 or 500 years even. So that was amazing. I let it there for the fairies, and I just felt truly connected and safe and welcomed in that spot and that wood in that forest. So that was beautiful, and I really hope that, yeah, wherever you guys are, you can also like find spots that truly inspire you. And if you feel lost, which I have been for like the past 3 years or so, then find a spot where you feel called to. Maybe don't even think about it, just walk outside or take your car or bike, and just go wherever your soul calls you to. And I feel like that's where you should be. I feel like we already know where we have to go, but sometimes we just, yeah, feel like, or we kind of block ourselves. So yeah, I hope that comes through exactly like I want to. I know it has been a little rant going on for like 10 minutes right now, but I really hope that helps you, and I really want to share all of that pure magic with you. So with that being said, I will just quickly show you how the covers turned out. While our fairy offering bowl is drying, I will do like my fairy encyclopedia, do the rest. And after that, I will give you the book review that actually was planned right now, but it was just like, no, that message wants to come through first. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed the video so far. If you did, then don't forget to do the YouTube magic, to like and subscribe and comment. It really means the world to me. And yeah, you guys are all so kind, so thank you so much. And I'm so happy to have all of you here. But now let's get back into, yeah, our DIY craft situation. So I see you in a bit. All right, so here we are. That is the back of our encyclopedia, and I just filmed how I did that. Like you saw yesterday how I glued that on with PVC glue, and I didn't really mind that there was like moss while I like damped the moss in color and then, or like in paint, and then I put it on that cover. I really love it. I think the camera is not even picking it up properly, but it looks so magical. I also did the inside. The only disadvantage of like that spray that I used, that paint spray, is that it smells a little bit acrylic. It smells a little bit like chemical. I hope it will go away. Otherwise, it's okay. It's not that bad if you don't spray too much. But I really love the back of our Encyclopaedia. And I also have the front. Actually, I like the back better than the front, because here I went a little bit crazy because I really wanted to try it out. That is the front. I also did the spray on that, and I feel like that gave the final touch. That is the inside, and I feel like it really looks like fairy dust was sprinkled all over. But if you compare them, I feel like, yeah, definitely, if I should recommend you how to do it, use less leaves. Like I went crazy. I glued so many on top of here because I wanted it to look like basically it just came out of the forest, the autumn forest. But I would use less leaves and not glue them on top of each other. But other than that, it's really beautiful. So I feel like, yeah, that is just an easy DIY. It's so fast done. You just have to let it dry for a day. But yeah, that spray color is really like, I don't know, one of my new favorite materials, and I'm definitely going to spray that on top of my fairy bowl that is like drying happily like down here. But yeah, now we are doing the final touches. Like I have some crystals, some moss, and with that our book is nearly ready. And yeah, I also want to do my own paper. I have been planning that for like the past few weeks, but I have to collect some paper first. And yeah, that's why it's taking a little bit longer, but that's definitely going to be in the Book of Shadow DIY. That will be similar to that one, but I also want to use modeling clay for that as well. But yeah, all in all, I'm really happy, and I cannot wait to collect some leaves inside and to do my herb studies, because that's what I want to use it for. And yeah, to just collect things that I feel like were messages from the fairies, from the woods. With that being said, I will like now show you what I like put on top of my cover. And yeah, after that we are painting the fairy bowl. Alright, and now we arrived at the portion of the video where I want to give you guys a little book review about the book that inspired me to do that video. And actually I filmed that review yesterday, and I'm not sure which I'm going to take, like which take I'm going to take. But basically what I said was like 15 minutes. I explained how amazing that book is, and I said amazing like 10,000 times. So I feel like I'm not the best at doing book reviews, but I still wanted to talk about that book because I feel like a lot of you guys will like it. It's really beautiful and just the perfect book for autumn and winter, like the most cozy time of the year. So I really hope you will enjoy that book as much as I do, in case you buy it or rent it or borrow it, however you choose to, or listen to it. That's another one as well. But it is about the book Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries, and it is written by Heather Fawcett. And I just love that book. Let me put that out right at the beginning. Like, that book is my new most favorite book of all times, and that's a really hard thing to achieve as a book. But I am so amazed. Like, I'm always so amazed when I read that and I see the work that people put into the research, and like how people just pour their heart into the book they are writing. And that is one of these books. So the way I found the book was really interesting as well. I feel like it called out to me, and it was just like, come on, come up here, and like, I'm the perfect book for you. So the way it happened was I went to my local bookstore. I got an email that I can pick up my book that I pre-ordered, and sometimes I like to support artists or creators by buying their books, or when there is like a first time author, I like to support them as well, and then I buy the books, not secondhand but like new. So that is what happened that time, and I went to my local bookstore and I paid for my books, and I was like, okay, maybe I can just go up there and check out the fantasy young adult section to see if there is anything good, because I feel like in autumn or like winter there are so many good books coming out, because now is the perfect time to immerse in like reading and studying. So I went up there, and the first book that spoke to me was that book, and I only saw the word fairies and I saw the beautiful cover, like that shimmery shiny cover, and I was like, okay, that is a book about fairies, no way, because I feel like books about fairies are rare. I know there is like the stories or like the books about the fae, or like the more human-like fairies, that tend to be more romance books, which is fine as well. I love reading them as well. There is also like children books or stories for children about fairies, but not necessarily for like adults or like young adults. And I just saw that and I was like, okay, let me see what that is about, because I felt like, okay, maybe it's like this kind of book where there is pictures, and it's also more for like children to see like what fairy types there are or something like that. But then I read like only the first paragraph and I was like, okay, you got me. I have to read that. So what that book is about Emily Wilde. She is like our main character, and I think she's 30 years old if I'm not mistaken, and she is an expert for fairies. She's also a professor at Cambridge University, where she like teaches about the fairies, and her goal is to write an encyclopedia about fairies. And for that purpose she is like traveling around doing field studies to really study the fairies, to study their behaviors, their kinds, and that's what she is doing in that story as well. But that time she is going up north into a really snowy and cold region, and the fairies in that country, I think it is in Scandinavia, I cannot pronounce the name of the place that she is going to, but that place is like the place where it's the last chapter, or like it will be her last chapter in the book. And there was just like a crack in the storage, so I was like, okay, what is that? Is it like the fairy saying hello? But that will be the last chapter, and otherwise she kind of has all of the different kinds of fairies in that encyclopedia. So she travels there, and what I love about that story and the setting is that it plays in the 20th century. So I think it is 1910 when the story starts, and it is just so slowed down. You know, nowadays there is like so much information everywhere. You are like surrounded by social media, by messages, by just media in general, and there is like something around you every single day. And I feel like in that book it's so slowed down. Like, she arrives in a beautiful little cottage, she has to make her own firewood, she has to make her own fire, they still write letters, and it is just so cozy in my eyes, how and beautiful, how connected they are still to nature. Also, like the folk from this village she stays in, or like the town she stays in, they all meet up at the guest house in the evening. Everybody knows each other, and I love that. I love that community aspect of life, and I feel like nowadays it got a little bit lost. When I grew up, we also had that in my town, like everybody knew everyone, and it was just really beautiful because when, for example, I don't know, something happened, you could always go like to your neighbor or something because they knew you, they took you in if you lost your key or something like that. And I feel like nowadays that got a little bit lost, and I'm so sad about that because I love that community aspect and I would love to live in that kind of community. So that is what's happening. Of course, the people living there, they are a little bit skeptical because they are also afraid by the fairies, and that is something that, yeah, Emily will learn, that there is like things happening to the villagers that were not that nice, and that's why they are afraid to help her in the beginning. So she ventures on. She is this kind of person that does not really know how to interact with people, and I could relate so much because she is so into her studies. She's more of that rational type. It's hard for her to find the right words, that kind of stuff. It's really interesting to read about it because she's so immersed into her studies, and she goes on, like maybe a little sneak peek without spoiling too much, but she goes outside and does her field research, and she is giving the fairies some presents, and she also thinks about, okay, what could these fairies here like, because she does not know what kind of fairies live here, and she puts a little present down, and I love that. That's why I wanted to do my fairy offering bowl. I was inspired by that to do my fairy offering bowl. And she puts it down, and like the next day a little fairy comes, and I was chuckling so much. Like the reader from the German audiobook does a perfect job, and I love listening to her voice. But it was so cute, like that little fairy came out, and he had that little like fur from a raven on top of his body, so he was covered in that raven fur, and he was like, okay, what do you want to treat with me? Like, he's smart, he knows she wants the information from him, so he's like, okay, what do you give to me? And that is something I really like, because in that book it also says that she is not trading with the fairies if she cannot really give to them what they want. So she says that, like, okay, I can see what I can do, but if it's not in my power to make your wish come true for that trade, then I'm not going into the trade. And that is something really important that my shamanic practitioner teacher also said. If you go outside, you connect with the spirits of like the forest or like a certain place, and you do a shamanic journey, and they give you something, and you ask them, okay, now what can I give you? And you cannot really, you are not 100% sure that you can give that to them. Don't promise anything. So that was really cool to see that that kind of wisdom is the same in like different areas or like regions of the world. But that was really cute. There is also the mysterious bumblebee, which she thinks that he could be a fairy, and we will find out about that as well. But The story is really beautiful. I love that she's like really into that wisdom and knowledge, because that's my Virgo side. It's like all about having the knowledge, collecting it, having my own fairy encyclopedia. That's why I'm doing that, because I want to collect knowledge. And the way the book is written is it's written in a diary form. So when you go through the book, and let me just quickly find a passage or like a chapter. For example, it says October 29th. So she writes that book like she is writing her diary. And I feel like in that way you really connect to Emily in such a deep way. You connect to the story. And there is also what is really cute. It's like, I hope you can see them, but it's like these little notes down here on the pages. And there is a lot of them. And when I first started reading it, there was like a note where it talked about books about fairies. And I thought that these are real, so I went on and I checked it online if I can find that book, because I was like, okay, I need that book. If that's about fairies, then let me get that book. And then I realized, okay, it's just part of the story. These books are not real, and I was so sad. But that's basically how that book is written. There is also like stories about fairies and like kind of these legends that she studied and that she includes in her encyclopedia. So that book is just really, really beautiful. It's a perfect read if you are into fantasy, if you are into fairies, into magic. Then I highly, highly recommend Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries. Yeah, that is the book that I can only recommend to you guys if you want to give it a try. If you read it, let me know in the comment section down below. If you listen to the audiobook, then let me know as well, because yeah, I cannot get enough about or of that book, and I'm so happy that it found me. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you read it and how you like it, or if you want to read it. So yeah, I hope that little review helps you. I know I'm not that good at doing this kind of stuff, because I have just all that information in my head and everything wants to come out. Like, I cannot decide which one to take first. But yeah, that's the book. Highly recommend. And now let's get back into doing our DIY craft. And yeah, I feel like that will be the end of the video soon. So I hope you enjoyed. I don't know if I will pop in personally again, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And if we don't see each other again, I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.